Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Destina. This is Spiritually Bougie Astrology, and we're going to take a look at the astrological transits tied to October 23rd to October 29th. Something was revealed last week. Something came to light. Something came to the surface. Something was decided. And very quickly, that decision, that information, that situation that came to light was expressed in more than one way. It led to an immediate long-term decision. It led to more people knowing about something, knowing about things that have been going on for quite some time, things that have been going on behind the scenes. And I don't mean to say behind the scenes in the sense of like, you've got like a secret room that has all of these like little knickknacks and things inside of it where nobody knows what you're working on. No, it's not that. But I'm a firm believer that if you set a goal for yourself, I like to work in silence. Call it my Scorpio placements, whatever. It happens. But I'm one of those people that I feel like the more and more people are involved and have an opinion about what I'm doing, the more likely that their opinion is going to throw off my gut and my intuition. And I would rather listen to my intuition first, because it tends to be right more than anything else. So I don't always tell people the things that I'm working on. Sometimes you don't tell people in your life the things that you're working on. However, over the course of the last week, either something that you were working on, or something that somebody else has been working on, or going through, or dealing with, or putting together, has came to light. An opportunity revealed itself. Some people, you saw a change in another person. You've seen just how much they have transformed, how much of their power and their personal strength is their own. And that was a part of what came to light this last week. More and more recognition towards gaining strength, towards overcoming past abuse, past power struggles, past negative situations. That Mercury Cazimi last week was in a square to Pluto. The quarter moon had Mercury in a square to Pluto, then Mercury in a square to the sun. And it was Mercury and the moon, while in a square, that transitioned into new signs together. Some people that once you saw the change in another, that reclaiming of personal power, that reclaiming of strength, more and more people are going to know about it. We had that. There's something about when you debut something or you tell somebody something for the first time, you're like really nervous. Like, I got to tell them I got a boyfriend. I'm going to do this most mundane example. Humor me as I say it that way. It's like, I want to tell everybody I got a boyfriend. I want to tell them. I want to tell them. I want to tell them. But you're super nervous about telling the first person. But then after you tell the first people, you don't care who knows anymore because now you're comfortable with it. The people that you worry about the most now understand. They now know what's been going on. They now know what's been going on behind the scenes, and you've been able to understand their opinion. Some of us learned of an opinion on Sunday. Some of us will be still dealing with opinions as we get into parts of this week. And there's something I want to talk about whenever it comes to opinions that everybody needs to be aware of. Just a quick little reminder. We all know it. It's just a little reminder, real quick. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. You're not going to necessarily like the opinion of someone else. Like, why would you date him? Why would you work there? Why would you move there? Why? Anyone that does that type of thing in a condescending way, you need to feel secure in what you say next. If for any reason those kinds of people bring out insecurities in you, you need to ask them additional questions. You need to figure out why they made you feel that way. Here's the deal. Parts of the energy of this week is going to be exactly that. Why did that opinion that conversation, that mindset, that asshole make you feel the way that you feel. Now, some people, what got revealed over this weekend was exactly that. It was an asshole. And I warned people of this last week. And I said, as much as you will see a reclaiming of power and seeing how something has changed and seeing how someone has transformed and all of these positive things, I said there would be a handful of people that we would finally see that final element of showing their ass. Because what got triggered for them and the revelation of them was their insecurities and how they've been taking their insecurities out on another person. Everybody's got an opinion on that too. Everybody's got an opinion on whatever just came through. And in many ways, there was a declaration. There was an announcement. Was there an announcement in the sense of like, here's a podium and I've got a microphone and just so you know, I has a boyfriend. I don't really. I just want to be super clear about this. Not what it is my example right now. And I know some people hear my examples and they think that's going to be the exact thing. It's not. It's an example. There was a revelation. And some people, there was an announcement to that revelation. For some people, one bit of revealing led to a trickle event of more and more people learning about things. I have my own example of this, and mine's super mundane. I don't think it's going to bother the people that are involved. There's a lot of activities this weekend. I said there would be a lot of socializing and stuff like that over the weekend. Here in Oklahoma, there was 2 events that I can think of. One was Oktoberfest, that I know a lot of my friends went to. But then there was also a Jeeper event called Okie Jeep Jam. And they have thousands of Jeeps that go to this event. It's like, think of an amusement park, but for grown-ass adults with very expensive toys. We call them Jeeps. I didn't have any plans to go to Jeep Jam. I didn't. Because I know me, and when I go, I want to play in the mud. I want to do all of it. All of it. And I know I wasn't going to be able to do that. So I didn't want to even like question the idea of going for half a day. And no, it's fine. What I had instead last week is I had 2 friends in the same town as where Jeep Jam was. Let's be super clear about this. In the same town where Jeep Jam was, going, we're going to have a wedding. We're going to have it at this park in this town. I'm not saying the name of it. Well, it's Muskogee. If you look up Okie Jeep Jam, you're going to see it's Muskogee. So never mind. In Muskogee, which is like an hour away from Tulsa. So I'm like, okay, great. I want to see, like, we're having a wedding. I am now officiating their wedding. That literally, if you ask me Monday, are you doing a wedding this week? No, I'm not. By Friday, I'm doing a wedding. Oh, okay, thanks. It happens. The revelation, what got revealed, was that some people still don't know that I'm an ordained minister, that I have the ability to officiate ceremonies and stuff like this. It's not just the tribal ceremonies. It can be other ceremonies too. Dusty is multi-purpose. She's a little Swiss Army knife. What got revealed to my friends was that I could do their wedding. When I went to physical said place to see where a wedding is going to take place, and we do kind of a dry run and all that, that park where we're going to have this ceremony, it's right next to freaking Jeep Jam. It's right next to him. It's like right dear in dear. It's like, oh my God, you can't get me this close and I can't go say hi to my friends. So I went and I parked. My friends are all running the obstacle course area. So I just walked my fat ass out there and like, hey, hi. Gave hugs and saw people that I hadn't seen in over a year, and just a quick run through and just a hug. I love, I miss, I'm sorry. I was so close I couldn't resist the idea of not stopping. What were you doing over here? Oh, I'm going to be officiating a wedding. And there's that reveal and the light bulb and the new information that hit everybody of this fixed thing. Oh, well, I knew you did the spiritual work and in the healing. I never put 2 and 2 together. Oh, and it was a light bulb moment for a lot of people. For more people, it's just like that more turn of me revealing more and more my spiritual side to them. Figure I was the best example. And for a lot of people, that put more seeds into their ears of, oh, I can go to Dusty for more than just the woo-woo stuff. Got it. Thanks for that. And pin, I know it. Who has the pin? I don't know, but I know what I did. There was a revelation, a revealing of information, a revealing of a fixed situation, a revealing of a fixed purpose. A revelation was in the energy. Beyond that, a long-term decision was a part of that energy. And there will be events and everything that will follow based off of that. Super fun. Some people got to see another form of transformation and power in another. Some people got to see how somebody had changed. You went to an event and you saw just how much everything had changed, how many more people knew about it, how many more people were there. Talked about how it was in the past. Anyone that went to events before COVID and after COVID, we've all had the exact same conversation as, well, we used to do it this way, but then COVID hit. And they don't do it this way anymore. And we're all very, very aware that of how much things have changed. That was a big topic of the conversation of the weekend. How much something has changed, someone has changed, some place has changed, how much times have changed. And more people are recognizing it as we get into parts of this week. There's a big part of the topics of the weekend. For a lot of people, there was a lot of positive energy. But for the few little handfuls, there was the one guy that revealed himself to be an asshole. And that asshole is now the topic of opinion. There's a lot of opinions being spoken about on Sunday. There's a lot of opinions being spoken about into Monday. Some people revealed themselves to be an asshole. That there had been a power struggle in the dynamic. And that power struggle is leading into what conversations are being had in the first part of the week. There's an opinion, good, bad, and ugly. We have opinions. Not only do we have opinions, but we have ideas. Ideas that are being conversated about. We have more and more of our beliefs, more and more of our hopes, our desires, and our dreams that are being manifested through our words. They're being spoken about. Not everybody's an asshole. More and more people are doing inner work. And there will be elements of that inner work that come out. Some of it came out this weekend. Some of it's going to come out this week. This week as we lead into an eclipse. An out-of-sign eclipse is parts of how we end this week. Many of us have been in a turning stage for the last 2 years. And we are getting to a culmination point of how we're going to take that to the next level. And that too is a part of the energy of this week. Parts of this week, especially as we get towards the end of the week, are going to set the stage for some of the energies that are going to happen in November. Why? Because we're still going to be in eclipse season until we get to the new moon in Scorpio. So, parts of this week is going to set the stage of how things will be in November. We are in the position of changing opinions, of changing our mindset, of getting some things turned around. Those that have been stuck in an old way of thinking and an old way of doing things and an old way of being are going to be the ones that have a little bit more light shed on them this week. People that are in places of authority, our elders, authority figures in general. So sometimes whenever I say authority, I have to remind everybody, it's not just your boss. It's not just members of the government. It can be somebody that we see as an authority figure in what they do. There's an authority that needs to transition. It needs to change. Many people are in this turning position right now. Some people, they made their change a while ago and they're just kind of riding high and enjoying all the fun stuff. Other people, they're in that transition right now. Some of us were watching a transition. Some of us are recognizing where certain responsibilities are going to change. Many of us are looking at writing new rules, setting new boundaries. And every time something pops up that hurts our feelings, that hits those little nerves, letting us know, like, you're not on the same page as me. I'm not just saying like people that contradict you. I am friends with so many people that they're from a different place in life. They let me have my woo-woo stuff and like, Dusty, you do your, but at the same time, they understand that I respect them for having their things different than me. You need differences in society, but we also need to respect each other's differences. And there's ways to do that without violating boundaries. More and more people need to recognize boundaries. If you and your best friend come from two different walks of life, that's not a negative thing. I'm the oldest of 16 kids. I didn't rush out and have a bunch of kids, but my best friend of over 15 years, two of my best friends, one is a grandma because she's a little bit older than me. The other one, 6 kids. I'm still Aunt Dusty. It doesn't impact my ability to be her friend, but my way of looking at life and her way of looking at life based off of the fact that she has kids, very different, very, very different. But we still support one another. We still vent to one another. We still talk to one another. I'm not talking about people that are completely different in that opinion. I'm talking about the ones that whenever they say things and question you, that they say it in a way that is demeaning, that they're trying to pull insecurities out of you because you taking back your power and rising to this occasion is making them feel insecure about their past decisions. The one thing that a lot of the older generation tends to have in common, and I'm saying this on a professional level, not necessarily a personal level, is that they get a lot of regrets. Where this younger generation of who we are and what we do now, many of us make choices to not live in a timeline of regret. And that is going to be a part of the accountability and a part of the mirror that needs to be reflected on. Poor grandpa. I'm always picking on a grandpa. I'm always picking on a grandpa. So let's take it into Monday. Monday, I've got this at 11:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. The sun has just went into Scorpio. That's why I started it right here. The sun just went into Scorpio. Over the course of Monday and Tuesday, we will have this feeling of the sun and it's trine to Saturn. This goes exact on Tuesday. It starts on Monday. This starts right as the moon, who's in Saturn's sign, is hitting a square to Uranus. So the moon square with Uranus goes the most exact between 1:15 and 3:45 p.m. Central Standard Time. There are elements of like how something from the weekend is, potentially negatively impacting you on the first part of Monday, just so everybody's aware, like you should have worn more sunscreen when you were out there with all them jeepers, because I'm going to just throw all my jeepers under the bus right now. I saw every single one of you. Most of you needed sunscreen. I'm the kind of person in my Jeep, like, there's a can of sunscreen in each door. I'm not stupid. I burn. This is one of those things, like, you have an effect from the weekend, and more people are like, oh, you should have did that differently. There's some elements of that. But then there's also a whole other part of the ball game. And the other part of the ball game kind of sets in more in the afternoon. That's why I started in the afternoon. The sun's trying to Saturn. Again, it's going to start on Monday. It's not going to go exact until Tuesday. There is a recognition of time, responsibility, persistence, achievement, recognition, coming to light, reaching a goal, having somebody else notice you reaching your goal. There is a recognition of responsibility, of somebody changing their opinion about a responsibility, about somebody changing their opinion of the past, that's meant to come through somewhere between Monday and Tuesday. The thing about Monday is the moon is in an air sign. There's going to be a lot of opinions about how we feel about some things. And some people are going to be very, very shocked by some of the opinions that they feel or that they hear about, or some of the opinions or some of the decisions that have been made. And that comes through by Monday afternoon, specifically when the moon hits its square to Uranus. Now, the thing is, the moon is in Uranus's sign, and Uranus is retrograde. So some people might not be completely blindsided by this, but they might have had a suspicion. Well, I thought that you were about to make a change. I had this feeling that you were looking for another job. I had this feeling that we were going to have this conversation. I kind of had a feeling. I kind of knew. I kind of felt it. And there will be a suddenness, an unexpectedness, but it's also coming from a place of, well, I remember when I was in your shoes. I understand why you would make this decision because I've been where you are before. Some people, you're going to be given an unexpected opportunity to take a responsibility, to level up. What can come through unexpectedly would be not just like a job promotion per se. The ruler of this eclipse season is Venus, and Venus is in Virgo, so we're in a transitional with mercurial aspects to it too. There can be an opportunity that would be tied to a move. This kind of transition. Like, hey, there's a job opening, there's going to be this position, it's a promotion, it's more money, but it's also out of state. What? Yeah, they want me to go to Texas. They're talking about me going to Michigan. They're talking about me going to like Kansas. Like, what? And there can be this unexpected opportunity towards responsibility, towards a new level of authority, towards a new role and a new part of recognition. This is spoken both with the suddenness, moon square Uranus, but also the sun's trine to Saturn. Recognizing the growth, recognizing the change, recognizing somebody taking accountability in a whole different way. Some of us, if we get that opportunity to potentially move, we're not quick to make that decision. You're like, can I think about it for a few days? Can I talk to my wife? Can I talk to my, I'm not ready to just jump at this decision right now. I need a few days to think about it. That's going to also be parts of the energy. And there will be some element of like needing to come to terms with a potential action, an action that not everybody would be aware of. So again, not everybody in the room knew that there was this job opening that's coming up. They only told it to that handful of people like, hey, just so you're aware, we really want you in this kind of position and this opportunity is coming through. What do you think? I don't know. I don't know what I think. I know I need time to think. That's a big part of the element as we get through the rest of Monday. Some people, you're going to hear that somebody else did get a promotion and you're going to be salty about it. Well, I thought I was the next one up for promotion. The old boss told us that I would be up next. But you notice what you just said was old boss? The old boss? and that boss isn't there anymore because you got a new boss, and the new boss knew nothing about that. So he made a decision towards who should be in a position of power based off his experience and not what somebody promised you. Some people are going to be trying to come to terms with an action that they thought was going to happen that does not happen. Some people, the moon square to Uranus is going to be exciting. For other people's, it's going to stir some shit. And again, people are going to have some opinions about it. Well, I thought I was promised. I thought this was going to happen this way. I thought in a minute. And they're going to be stuck on it all night. After the moon square to Uranus, the moon goes void. So they're going to be stuck on it all night. We're going to be talking about the same things all night long. We're going to be working through our opinions all night. There is a fuel to the fire, to the unexpectedness. Now, going into Tuesday, the next and the overnight hours, we're going to have a mixed bag of events. So I'm just going to get this to 3:30. I'm going to leave this alone for a minute. And there's a reason why. For some people, this energy that I explain next, it's going to happen late on Monday. For other people, it's going to happen early on Tuesday. For me, in this central time zone, there's 3 little sets of trains. It's all happening roughly between like 2 o'clock in the morning and 6 o'clock in the morning. Are all of us doing something at 2 to 6 o'clock in the morning? Are we all doing something? Not usually. A lot of us are asleep or we're trying to sleep. What we can have is like a moment to where we're trying to wrestle with something in our head and we're having a hard time going to sleep because we're having a hard time accepting something. Our opinions, and we're so fixated on something in our minds that we're struggling. Some people, we need to go to sleep because we need the reset. Sometimes just going to bed is like Control-Alt-Delete. It's the shaking of the Etch-a-Sketch. It's that ability to move. There is something that must be understood and must be accepted. A recognition based off of a decision that happened prior to today, prior to Tuesday. The sun and its trine to Saturn, it goes the most exact numerically between 2:13 and 2:36 a.m. Central Standard Time. The moon, making its conjunction to Saturn, goes the most exact between 3:30 and 5:30 a.m. It is at 3:34 a.m., so we're right on top of it. When the moon goes into Pisces, and it immediately starts its conjunction to Saturn. This is important because this will be the last moon-Saturn conjunction before Saturn turns direct. The moon in Pisces this week speaks volumes about emotions. And once the moon goes into Pisces, there is going to be some type of emotional acceptance, whether we like it or not. Whether we like it or not. This is the most exact, what I'm talking about, this emotional acceptance. Tuesday. The moon is going to go into Pisces. It's going to trine the sun, conjoin Saturn, while the sun is in a trine to Saturn. We are shedding light and accepting a responsibility. Some of us are going to go home. We're going to have that conversation with our wife. We're going to put 2 and 2 together. We're going to realize, this will be a good move. This wouldn't be a good move. This could be a good opportunity to move to another state and take this other position. We can start a whole new chapter of our lives. We've been feeling like something's about to hit for so long. And this was it. And now we need to come to terms with something. For some people, we're super agitated by the fact that it didn't go a certain way the day before. So-and-so got promoted and I didn't. And the next day, the moon, making a conjunction to Saturn, while the sun is in a trine to Saturn, is going to shed light onto why certain responsibilities or certain decisions or certain accommodations are being made one way or another. Whether you like the decisions that have just been made or not, there is going to be an acceptance because the moon is making a conjunction to Saturn. We have to accept the choices. We have to accept this change. We have to accept this turnaround. We have to accept this thing, regardless of how we feel about it. The Sun, Mercury, and Mars are all in a fixed emotional sign. Regardless of how you have felt about it in the past, times they are a-changing. The Sun is in a trine to Saturn, while Saturn is stationing to go direct. The moon is making its last conjunction to Saturn while it is stationing to go direct. It is time to turn something around. It is time to let the past be the past. And it is time to work through certain emotions and why we feel a certain way and how we need to get over ourselves. Some of us, we're the ones just making sure that other people are getting over themselves. But you know where I was going with that. The moon's conjunction to Saturn, again, the most exact between 3:30 and 5:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. We are not all dealing with this in the middle of the night. Some people, we are up overthinking for parts of the evening, and we finally get to the point that we're like, just screw it. I need to get some sleep, and I'll just deal with it when I wake up. Some people are going to be overthinking and talking about things all night, and then there's going to be like this strong political-esque, but like belief-esque type conversation that's going on Monday evening. And then we get to just this point where we just need to accept what we need to accept. And that is the moon's conjunction to Saturn. We need to accept something. You need to accept the fact that the old boss didn't tell the new boss that you were promised something. You need to accept the fact that the new boss might not think as highly of you as you think of yourself. We need to accept that we each need to have a conversation. Now, for a lot of people, the conversation is going to happen in one of two ways. And depending on when the conversation happens, kind of depends on like how this is going to go. Between 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time and 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to trine Mercury. Mercury is hosting Venus, and Venus is hosting this eclipse season. We need to be both logical and empathetic. We need to look at the facts, the figures, and the receipts, as well as emotionally understanding. Sometimes the worst decisions are based off of being in the worst situations that you can't think yourself out of. Sometimes we have to explain a situation that we couldn't think ourselves out of. There is understanding. There is explaining. There is trying to change the opinion of another person. There is an expression. Emotional expression. I felt like this should have been me. I felt like I have been wronged if you didn't get the promotion. In other ways, it's emotional understanding. I felt like this was going to go a different way. I felt like I needed to be there. I felt like I should have been a part of this. I felt like I should be there. I feel like I can do this. I feel like I'm up to traveling. The moon being in a conjunction to Saturn while in these trines, this can also be like, I think we're going to make it. Sometimes we have to we don't make certain confirmations that we're going to do something until like right when we're getting close because we don't know how somebody's health is going. It's like, okay, we think we're going to make it this weekend. Grandpa's doing really, really well. So I think we're going to make it. I think we're going to make the travel. I think we're going to make it. There is support. A lot of emotional support. If we're having certain conversations with a boss earlier in the day, again, we're having the acceptance, but we're getting communication as to why something went a certain way. Later in the day, the moon is going to make a trine to Mars. Now, some people are still going to be pissy. Now, the moon's trine to Mars goes the most exact between 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, so this is dinner. Here's Mars, 8 degrees, 41 minutes. Here is the moon at 8 degrees and 25 minutes. So we're right in this time span. For some people, this is an inspiration and a motivation. It's seeing some type of activity that speaks to us on an emotional level, experiencing something that, again, can be very emotional at the same time. I'm in a Jeep mentality all of a sudden because I did see about 2,000 Jeeps in like 5 seconds the other day. So I'm just like, in some ways, this is like seeing somebody else conquer a trail. It's seeing somebody running the marathon and the emotions that come to it. There's an emotional support with an action. For some people, we're seeing somebody who's still pissed off that they didn't get their way. And that's a big possibility. But we also need to put that person in check. We need to make them, look in the mirror and reflect on accountability and, well, have you been doing the same level of job since the old boss left? No, because I don't like the new boss. Then why the hell would the new boss promote you? Don't come at me with logic. Because I'm in my feelings. Some people are going to be in their feelings. The moon is in Pisces. There's so much goddamn emotion that starts Tuesday, Wednesday, and into Thursday. People are going to be in their feelings. People are going to be really butthurt, easily emotionally triggered, and easily have something just come to the surface. You can be going through something that is not detrimental at all, not hard at all, but then you watch that commercial, think of those like old SPCA, like Sarah McLachlan commercials, as soon as you hear the song that in the arms of the angel, and you're just like, oh my God, I think I want another dog. You have 20. You don't need another dog. Why do I feel this way? Because you need to work through an emotion, not go get another dog. There's a disruption that leads to emotions. There are emotional situations that are going to be tied to a disruption. This is meant to be very, very helpful. It is meant to be proactive. However, there are elements to, once we get through the late part of Tuesday and really deep into Wednesday, that directly speak to things that are going to be going on once we get to the eclipse at the end of the week. Mars is one element of that. The next element is the moon in Jupiter's sign is making a sextile to Jupiter in Venus's sign. Now, this goes exact between 10 p.m. and 12:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. That's when this is the most felt. This is an energy that takes us into Wednesday. Now, this is kind of like a check-in. This is like a little push. This is like, oh, hey, are we going to be ready for this? Oh, hey, are we still meeting at this time? Oh, hey, are we going to have lunch tomorrow? Oh, hey, are we doing that meeting in the morning? There's just something about this that's like a little bit of a push towards a future thing. So it's an intention about something that needs to happen later. It either needs to happen later this weekend or it's the next morning. And I can see this being a mix of both. Hey, I want to like run over this plan with you. I can't do it tonight. I'm so tired. My head is just pounding. Can we talk about it first thing in the morning? Oh, yeah. It can be as simple as that. But it can also be as simple as, hey, this is what I want to do this weekend. So I put a plan in order. Will you read my stuff? I'll get back to you in the morning. There is some level of a future intention that is being spoken about. Now, that's with the moon's sextile to Jupiter. This is still occurring as we go through midnight. We start to get more now into actual Wednesday. And there's a transit that goes the most exact early in the morning again, between 4 a.m. and 6:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. This energy is going to be, again, one of those things that either plays out late on Tuesday, or it's going to be about a part of Wednesday. Now, if you guys are in the same energy as me and you're having a crap ton of eclipse dreams, the moon in Pisces this week, expect dreams. Expect the dreams to coming through, just to be clear. The moon in Jupiter's sign is now in an opposition to Venus. Venus rules this eclipse season. Simultaneously, Venus is being hosted by Mercury. And Mercury is right on top of the sun's eclipse point that's about to take place. The eclipse that we will have in Taurus is going to be at 5 degrees, 9 minutes. Mercury's just past that, but the moon's also just past Venus, just to be clear. There is something about the moon's opposition to Venus that directly speaks to the eclipse that's going to happen later in this week. There's some type of communication. There's some type of logic. There's some type of emotion that needs to get worked through. Some people are suddenly having cold feet. Some people are needing to let this emotional purge come out, and the only person that makes sense to them is to talk to somebody that can come from a place of logic. Somebody needs to be the person of logic here. Some of us, we're going to be the emotional person. We're going to be the moon in Pisces. Like, we're going to be like, you hurt my feelings. You did all these things to me. I can't believe you. But on the flip side of that, there's going to be that other person that has to be like, okay, but did he really do all these things? Or is this just kind of how you're remembering him? I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm trying to hold you accountable. I'm trying to make sure we're on the same page. I'm trying to help you. One person is going to be the person of logic. Another person is going to be the person of emotions. And there will be this flooding energy of that. And there is something very, very specific to the 25th. So again, something about either late on the 24th, the human effect is it can happen late on the 24th or early on the 25th, that directly speaks to what happens at the end of this week, what happens during the eclipse. The other reason I'm saying that is because Mars is now in its activation point opposite Jupiter. We look at planets to be within 3 degrees for a conjunction to be the most exact. These two in their opposition, they're within the 3-degree range. By the end of the day of the 25th, Mercury will also be within that 3-degree range of Mars. Mercury is hosting Venus. Venus rules this eclipse season. I've been saying for months that the Mercury-Mars conjunctions have their own set of energy that are going to come, and the very first one is in an opposition to Jupiter. There are seeds in this moment. If it's not necessarily seeds, it's like seeing like the first little bloom like perk up. You have the new plants. I know it's fall time. Hear me out. You get those little new plants and you see the first little bud that's starting to open up. You see all the other ones that haven't opened up, but you see that first little one that has like a little bit of pink, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of red, whatever color the flower is. You just see that first little bit of, hey, it's starting to open up, but it hasn't fully opened up yet. It's starting to open up. We're dealing with an emotion. We're logically working through an emotional situation. We're trying to get our bearings about a situation that's going to happen later this week. Some of us, it's going through an energy of like, these are my desires. These are my hopes. These are my dreams. This is my inspiration, and applying that in a logical way, or explaining that to a person who only comes from a point of logic. For some people, it's going to be Venus is going to be hurtful. Venus is still kind of in a sticky moment. And in parts of this weekend, especially if you get somebody that was like really in the negative Venusian energy that I've talked about over the course of the summer, some people that are coming from that point of logic, they're going to say something that's going to hurt feelings more. And that again can come through parts of this. But for some people, it's all a dream. It's all dream energy. And we're going to wake up feeling like something has to go a certain way now. That the next steps in the method, the next part of this methodology that needs to happen, all needs to go in a certain way. We need to put an order to this thing that we are creating, this thing that has not existed yet. There can be a bit of an imagination element to it. Now, after the moon's opposition to Venus, the moon's going to keep going, and the moon is going to hit a sextile to Uranus. Now, this is going to happen between 2:30 and 4:30 in the afternoon. I'm going to keep this going. There we go. So here's the moon, 21 degrees, hitting a sextile to Uranus. This isn't heavy. But considering Uranus is in Venus' sign, this can be another layer to whatever happened in those overnight hours. This can be telling somebody about something else that we want to do, and they're taken aback by it. Like, oh, I'm not saying that it's a bad idea. I wasn't expecting it. It's kind of shocking. You can get some type of confirmation of a future situation or of a future intention. You can get some type of confirmation, and that the confirmation itself isn't unexpected, but at the moment that you get it, you're so distracted and you've been so dealing with this other thing. You're like, oh crap. Hey, yeah, I gotta go. Oh yeah, I forgot. I gotta go pick this thing up. Oh yeah, I gotta go to the airport. Oh yeah, I forgot. I lost track of time. Because something about when the moon is in Pisces, like time is just, woo. We're losing track of time. We're having a hard time focusing. Now, later into the evening, after the moon hits that sextile to Uranus, it is going to go into a conjunction with Neptune. Now, this happens between 8 and 10:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm going to say this again. While the moon is going through Pisces, there can be a lot of like weird dream-like activities, just as much as we're dealing with some emotions. This is an interesting energy to me. Because for some people, we're going to hit a fog and a cloud, and we're like, oh my God, I think I'm going to go to bed early. We're feeling a wave of something come over us, like, oh my God, what is that energy? And that's like the universe calling you to bed. Hey, just so you know, come with me, go to bed. Trust me on that one. It happens. For some people, it's like doing something creative. It's running into somebody unexpectedly. These are all positive ways to look at the moon and Neptune. There can be something that speaks to imagination. So it's like going to the movie theater or something along those lines. You're like, we've had such a funky week. Let's go to the movies. Are we all going to the movies at 9:30 at night? No. However, that doesn't mean that we don't want to do something that kind of speaks to that inner child to kind of get us out of our funk. The last time there was a moon Neptune conjunction, like my mom hadn't seen Guardians of the Galaxy. So like we sit there and watched the first one. I think it was the first two. She didn't feel well that day. We watched the first two, and then the next day we watched the third one. So something that captures the imagination, something that can get us out of our funk. Some people, we're going to have that melancholy sit in. We're going to have like a dream-like energy set in. And again, we're going to have something that's going to come through in our dreams. Be very, very aware if you're going through the weird visions and stuff like that, the weird downloads in eclipse season. The moon in Pisces is going to lead to a certain type of activity that's going to follow. And that gets really spoken to the energy of Wednesday evening. The moon's going to make a conjunction to Neptune. more positive energy for a lot of people. I feel like this is all going to be about, the woo-woo, more spiritual stuff. But for some people, on occasion, you're going to catch somebody and they'll be like, did you do this? Yeah. And then they're like, you realize they're lying. Or you go up the next morning and you realize, you didn't do this. You said you fed the dog. He got in the bag. You didn't do what you said you were going to do. This is that. The moon's conjunction to Neptune happens in the later part of the evening, going overnight into the 26th. So going into Thursday, the moon will also go into a sextile to Pluto. Again, pay attention to dreams. If you are a dream person, pay attention to dreams. If you have manifestations come through in other ways, I'm a dream person. Like, I dream things before they happen, but I'm also a music person. Like, I will suddenly hear songs I ain't heard in a long time. And the thing is if I try to ignore it, I'm like, oh, I haven't heard that in a while. It gets louder and louder and louder and louder until I figure out what it is. And until I have done whatever I need to do based off of how loud this is getting, until I can figure out what it is, like, it's me just going over the lyrics, going over things. We have ways that the universe manifests certain messages, internalized messages are going to come through. And the types of downloads, the types of things that can come through that can either be based off confusion, based off lies, or based off the woo-woo and the spiritual and things along these lines, based off the dreams, it's going to lead to a set of actions. Now, those actions are about the 26th. So, the moon will be in Pisces all night. It'll go into Aries at 5:02 a.m. Central Standard Time. So the moon just went into Aries right here. And what's interesting to me about the moon in Aries is there's nothing direct, no direct transits. I have to keep saying this until the end of the moon in Aries. There's no direct transits. However, the moon is in Mars' sign. Mars is now within the 3-degree conjunction of Mercury. So these two are coming together. Mars is now in its opposition to Jupiter. This isn't exact, but it's building. And it's building all while the moon is in Mars' sign. There is an intensity that is going to pick up once we get into Thursday. Once we get into the key points of Thursday, for many of us, not all of us, just many of us, we know we have something we're about to do. We know we're about to have an event. We've got an activity going on. We know we got to get something going. And this is like the home stretch of getting all the work done, the physical work. So you got somebody coming this weekend. We need to turn on the music, kick everybody out of the house, and like deep clean from one end to the other. You know the types of cleans that I'm coming, because like mom's coming to visit, and dad's coming to visit. Your anal retentive aunt that always goes through with like white gloves, like touching every surface in your house, and just makes you want to strangle them. Like, go away. There is something that sets in going into Thursday that ramps up the energy. And for many, many people, we know we're in the final stretch of doing a bunch of activities for a very specific event. However, not all of us have an event next weekend. Not all of us know of an event next weekend, at least not yet. In some ways, it hasn't truly revealed itself quite yet. It can reveal itself over the course of the week. If nothing reveals itself, understand there is an angst and there can be frustrations as much as there can be excitability over the course of Thursday and Friday. If you have a plan, if you have a goal, if you have something in mind, stick to that. And most people, your energy is going to be going to that. If you don't have anywhere to healthily put your energy come Thursday and Friday, it's going to be rough because it's going to be easily irritable. Now, indirectly, there is one indirect transit to the 26th, and that happens roughly around 12:45 Central Standard Time. So I've got this at 12:30. It's close enough for government work. Here's the moon, here's Neptune, and they're in I'm sorry, not a they're in an antitia. Some of us had a dream the night before, and that is directly leading us into activity the next day. Some of us had some type of confusing event the night before, and now we're determined to work through that confusion. Now we're determined to get to the bottom of a situation. Now we're trying to get something figured out. Some of us, we had that unexpected thing the day before with the moon sextile to Uranus, and then the moon's conjunction to Neptune. Something in that time frame is like something unexpected, and like something from the past, a level of nostalgia energy came through. And that now is leading to actions. We have to get something going. We have to get something prepared. Something revealed itself the last few days while the moon was in Jupiter's sign. This lit a fire underneath the Martian energy. And now, having so much energy going into a Mars situation, Mars ruled signs, Mars has now got the heavier hand. Where at the beginning of this month, everything was in Venus's hands. Mars is in a Mars ruled sign, Mercury is in a Mars ruled sign, the sun is in a Mars ruled sign, and the moon is in a Mars ruled sign. The North Node, just for shits and giggles, will bring him up. We are very, very determined. And the thing is if people are not on the same page as us, they're not on the same level as us, they're not getting the picture the same way as us, the closer we get to the Mercury-Mars conjunction, the more irritable people are going to be. I know what it's like whenever, I remember earlier this year, whenever Mars went over my natal Mercury for the third frickin' time, because I'm a Mercury and Gemini person. Mercury going over, Mars going over my natal Mercury is just like, the minute somebody was saying something to me and they didn't know what they were talking about, I knew it, and it irritated the piss out of me. The more and more people at this moment do not understand, do not have all their ducks in a row, do not have things laid out appropriately, do not follow directions, are not prepared, are not on the same page, is not in the same level as what you need them to be, the more irritated and the more snappy people are going to become. There will be attitudes and frustration and snappiness that starts to come through Thursday and Friday. Some of us, something got said the night before and it lit a fire under our ass, and it's a reason we're taking certain actions now. However, not everybody's like that, and some people are just feeling the vibration that's building. Everybody can feel that angst starting to build. And like, I don't know what I'm so irritated about. I don't know what's going on right now. I don't know why I'm feeling this way. Because there's a buildup towards an eclipse. And this angst and anxiety and shakiness is going to be a part of the energy. Some people, it's excitement. We're feeling very excited that something's coming together. But as we continue, it's not just about excitement. Some people are going to be irritated and irritable. And they're going to feel like other people are doing things to counterbalance everything that we're working on. You're not on the same page. You're just working against me. You're trying to do everything else. No, I'm not. This made more sense. I don't care. It's not what I wanted. Settle your shit down. Not everybody's going to be good at settling down. You ask people to take a certain kind of responsibility. Not everybody's going to be good at doing the settling down. Okay. Now, on the 27th, between 2 and 3:30 in the morning, the moon will do another hidden little transit. This time, the moon will have a contra antitia with Venus. This is like going to somebody, doing something you've never done before, and going to somebody going, is this what you like? Does this look okay? I've never done this before. Did I do this okay? Think about whenever you're trying to teach a kid how to stir the bowl for the first time, how to crack an egg. There's always one of two things. They either go way too soft from the beginning, and then you end up like making like 30 freaking cracks trying to get that egg done, or they go real hard, real fast, and go and just smash it everywhere. We're doing something we've never done before. People are doing things they've never done before. And there will be these moments of like coming in and checking, is this what you wanted? Will this work? This is the best I can find. This is the best that I can do. And sometimes we're going to have to just accept that this was the best that somebody could do in such short notice. Not everybody's going to be okay with that. Some people are going to be irritated, like, that's not what I wanted. Well, that's the best that I can do. Take it or leave it. That's going to be parts of the energy Thursday and Friday. Venus and the moon in a contra antisha, there's meant to be acceptance, critical acceptance of an action. So this is why I'm using the example of like trying to see if this is an okay thing, that we did this okay, that this is going to be acceptable. I did all your decorations, like this was what made sense. I made this big old thing. This is what you said you wanted these colors, so I did the best that I could. This is, if you give free will and free range to somebody, you accept the best that they could do. Be very clear about that. Some of the actions and the activities are just trying to make the best of a situation. And some people will feel judged, and some people will be very, very critical of what you're doing. It's just because the energy is like this. And the closer we get to the eclipse, the sharper the words are going to be. Now, after the moon's contra antisha to Venus, again, the moon's not doing anything. It's not aspecting anything. It's just trying to roll with the punches. It's just trying to get something accomplished. It's just trying to do its job. I'm just trying to help. The moon is in Mars' sign, and this entire time, again, Mercury is getting closer to Mars, so we're getting closer to some type of an event. We're getting closer to some type of communication. We're getting closer to some type of moment, and the closer Mercury gets to Mars, the more snippy and snappy. The closer Mars gets to its opposition to Jupiter, the more we're like seeing the promise and seeing the hope and seeing this thing that we know is going to happen. We're getting closer to this event. We're getting closer to a moment. And we're restless. In some ways we're excited. In other ways we're restless. And there can be a moment where egos come to a high point on Friday. Now, this is going to happen later in the evening. In some ways, the moon is going to make its conjunction to the North Node. Energetically, we feel this between 8:30 p.m. and midnight. Like here's the moon and North Node. Mars in the overnight hours is far closer to its opposition to Jupiter. We can only get so much done and so much ready. We can only clean so much. We can only move so much out. If you're trying to do everything within a very short period of time, you can only do so much before you just have to stop. You can only pack as much clothes as you can pack, and know that some things you're not going to pack the night before. You're going to pack them the next morning after you use them. Think of your hair straightener, ladies. Think of your razors, gentlemen. Not everybody has like a second one that they keep in their go bag. Some people have to remember to grab the final things the next morning. We have the final things that we end up packing. This is not the final things moment. This is getting to everything but the final. This is as done as I'm going to get it. This is as clear as it's going to happen right now. This is everything I can possibly get done at this time. This is everything I wanted to get done at this time. Some people it's going to be want. There will be like an ego aspect to it. Some people are going to be throwing a fit that they didn't get everything that they want. That's a big possibility. And that is more likely to come through in the overnight and the later parts of the hours. So we're getting now into the 28th. Now the 28th is whenever the eclipse is going to happen. But in the first part of the 28th, the moon is still in Aries. While the moon is going through Aries, we get these final little hits. There will be some tensions and frustrations to Friday night, i.e., early Saturday morning. The thing is if we're up late on a Friday night, not everybody is going to realize it's Saturday morning. But time-wise, it's Saturday morning now. In the overnight hours of Friday going into Saturday, Pluto is going to square the moon. This entire time, the moon has been going through Aries. The moon has not had any direct transits. They've all been indirect. We had the antitia with Neptune. We had the contra antitia with Venus. When the moon hits its square to Pluto, Mars is tightening its opposition to Jupiter. An action and hope. A hopeful action, an irritability tied to peace, tied to somebody being religious or spiritual, irritation with the guru, with, I'm going to say elder, but think more of a wisdom like elder. And I'm not talking about the one that oversees everything like Saturn. I'm talking about like the elder that gives us hope. It's the auntie that always supports us. Like, in some ways, this is going to be an arrival. In other ways, this is going to be a challenge. Pluto's full steam ahead. It's now Scorpio season. Mars is hitting this opposition to Jupiter. And there is this push to get to the next stage, to get something ready, to get something finalized. For some people, getting that ready or that moment is going to be very, very triggering. For some people, we're going to have another round of fear that comes through. And I'm going to remind everybody, cold feet is a normal thing. Some people are going to have a tension, an argument, a frustration between two very respected individuals. Pluto is in a square to the moon. Mars is in that opposition to Jupiter. Brother and uncle, doctor and dad, teacher, and Aunt Susie. Like, people ain't getting along. Aunt Susie and the new girlfriend. There's an irritability. There is a challenge. There is a frustration. There is a trigger. For some people, there is a disruption. We're charging headfirst into something. We're moving towards something very bold and very specific. And it is meant to be very, very hopeful. But right now, there's a lot more energy tied to Mars. And as hopeful as we can be, as hopeful as everything is meant to be at this moment, there can be some tensions and frustrations. We will not be sleeping well Friday night into Saturday. We are not going to have that same type of like dream-like energy from earlier in the week. No. Angst and anxiety, difficulty sleeping, excitement and difficulty sleeping, and we're just so hopeful for what's going to happen the next day. Knowing that all the actions that we have taken, that it is time to stabilize something. It is time to come to terms with something. It is time for something to transition. And this is a long-term fixed transition. Now, the eclipse is going to go exact at 3:25 p.m. Central Standard Time. I am just past that right here. Here is the moon at 5 degrees, 9 minutes. Here's the moon. I'm sorry, there's the sun, 5 degrees, 9 minutes. Here's the moon, 5 degrees, 12 minutes. I'm just past it. Humor me. This full moon is in a trine/sextile to Saturn. The sun is still in the trine. It's separated enough, but now that we're in an eclipse, we add a lot more degrees to our range. Whenever it comes to an eclipse, we have to be within 15 degrees of the node for it to be an eclipse. The reason that we're having an out of sign eclipse is because this full moon is going to happen within 10 degrees. It's 11 degrees, actually. It's a 5-degree full moon. The nodes are at 24 degrees. It's an 11-degree eclipse. The full moon that we had in Aries a month prior was also at 5 degrees. So it was over 20 degrees away from the node. I've put a lot of emphasis on what's going to come through and how important this eclipse has been in prior episodes. I'm not going to do a whole recap of that right now. My goal is to do a full moon eclipse episode completely to itself. So I don't want to put a lot of heaviness into this at this moment, because I'd rather do it separate. That way I can do a breakdown based off of everyone's ascendant. But this is still a full moon, making an aspect to Saturn, and Saturn is in Jupiter's sign. This is a full moon, while Mars has made its opposition to Jupiter. The Mars-Jupiter opposition went the most exact between 10:45 a.m. and 11:20 a.m. Central Standard Time, but it is still very, very active right here. When I'm saying the most exact is like degree and minute, it was the most exact. But with this Mars-Jupiter opposition, we were in this energy yesterday. This is the day it goes exact. We've been building up to an opposition energy all day. Passion and drive, Mars, opposite the guru, opposite a teacher, opposite abundance. I am determined to make this happen regardless of this other situation. Some people, this is going to be two different sets of spectrums coming to terms with something. There was a challenge. This coming to terms is meant to offer stability. If you're in a situation where trying to choose between two men, this is not going to be a fun one, because I've had Mars opposite Jupiter before, and where you're like, which is the right one? Pay attention to which one's getting activated by Mars and which one's getting activated by Jupiter. That'll answer a lot of your questions. This is very, very challenging for masculine energy, and it's going to result in more than one situation, just to be clear. There can be tensions, but all of this is meant to have a very critical mindset. It is about establishing new rules, establishing new roles, responsibility. That's why I said those two with two sentences differently at first. New leadership. The past is the past. For us to be able to charge ahead, we have to do something different. For us to be able to finally get this to stabilize, we have to do something different. And in a lot of ways, an agreement of that difference is going to be very necessary. Mars opposite Jupiter has a long-term agreement energy to it. And the last time Mars and Jupiter made an opposition, it was actually in a fixed sign. And that too happened 2 years ago. It happened in July of 2021. And what had happened, ironically, they were transitioning signs against one another. So Jupiter was here at the 0 degree mark where Saturn was, and Jupiter was retrograding back into Aquarius, while Mars was going through the final degrees of Leo and going direct into Virgo. The last time these two had an opposition, they were going from fixed to transition. Now we're not that. They're in full fixed signs. So we're trying to do something that's long-term, a long-term setting, a long-term agreement, a long-term situation. Is there still a transition involved? Yes, because the ruler of this eclipse is Venus, and Venus is in Virgo. Whatever we are transitioning into, it has a long-term effect to it. And there will be large transitional energy that takes place in the last part of this week and into the first part of next week. Long-term transitions. Okay. Now, full moon eclipse goes exact, like I said, 3:25 in the afternoon. We're just past it right here. In the evening time, Mercury will actually hit its opposition to Jupiter. Now that goes the most exact between 10:35 and 10:50 Central Standard Time, but it is something that we're dealing with all day. A lot of what's going on in this long-term fixed energy, a lot of this transitional energy, it's not just a one-person situation. It's a multitude of people. It's a multitude of situations coming to a culmination point. This will affect more than one person. This will include more than one person. There's a lot of activity going on. Pivotal disruption, tensions and arguments, the hell of a time for a family reunion. Anyways, going into Sunday, the moon is still going to be in Taurus. We're still going to be feeling the full moon eclipse energy as we get to Sunday. In the overnight hours, the moon is going to make a conjunction to Jupiter. Now, this goes the most exact between 12:30 a.m. and 3 a.m. Central Standard Time, so moon conjunct Jupiter. This includes the opposition of Mercury and Mars, so this is like two people over here had an issue with Jupiter. All of these people are talking shit and arguing and everything else, and somebody is finally going over here going, Jupiter, are you okay? I'm like, if they say one more stupid thing, I'm going to ring both of their ears. I'm just so sick of the arguing and the fighting and the tension. The moon's conjunction to Jupiter is meant to be helpful. It's meant to be supportive. It's meant to be hopeful. It's meant to be lucky. Lucky. The eclipse has a luck element to it because of the sextile trine energy to Saturn. And because of that conjunction to Jupiter, some people are also going to be very much in an energy about creating their own luck. I don't need them. I can do this on my own. I can do this my way. And again, doing it your way and saying something like that is also an affirmation of saying, I'm going to create my own luck. There's a lot of busyness. There's a lot of disruption, pivotal disruption, chaotic disruption, tension, frustration. Some people are going to say some things this next weekend that they're going to hurt. They're going to create new wounds. But then this is also an energy where we can create healing and we can stabilize and we can overcome things from the past. Long-term issues that have been going on for quite some time, we can overcome them. The moon and Jupiter will make their conjunction again between 12:30 and 3 a.m. Central Standard Time. The moon will leave its conjunction to Jupiter, and then earlier in the next morning between 9 and 9:30, I'm just going to round it like that. We'll get to 9:30. Mercury will have its first of three conjunctions to Mars. Right here. Mercury and Mars. I'm going to be super clear about this. I have been getting downloads about this conjunction since June. The type of pivotal, disruptive communication that we have not been ready for, a timeline that when the seeds were planted, nobody was ready for it. We all needed time to make space to get prepared for. This Mercury-Mars conjunction will be the first of three. It is a bridging in communication. It's also going to be a lot of people telling somebody else off. It's going to be a lot of tension and a lot of arguments. There will be some instability, but it's going to be like a final round of instability. Pivotal, necessary dialogue, but understand that if you have a strong Mars or a strong Mercury in your natal chart, your words will cut next weekend. Your words will cut this week going into this timeline, especially while the moon is in Aries. Be aware of that. We are in a position of long-term transitions and long-term changes, and that's undeniable. But there is also an energy of disruption, disrupting communication, pivotal disruption or chaotic disruption. It does not matter. It is still disruption. A disruptive decision, disruptive communication. This can also be disruptions in travel because it is Mercury. So understand that if you are planning an event, if you spent the last few days trying to like get everything lined out and you know you're about to hit the road trip, make sure you do whatever you need to maintenance wise before you go on the road trip, because this can be disruptions in travel also. So be aware of that. Okay. In the later parts of the evening, well, mid-afternoon, the moon is going to trine Uranus. Now, not Uranus, Venus. So this is going to happen between 3:30 and 6 p.m. So get close to that right here. 4:30, it's basically exact right here. Here's the moon in Venus's sign, making a trine to Venus, and Mercury and Mars are still in their conjunction. As much as some people can have tension, we can also have those other people like, you should not have talked to them that way. You should do better. You need to apologize. I don't want to apologize. I don't give a shit. You better do the right thing. This is kind of that. If you want things to go different in the future, you better do something different. This is the moon and a trine to Venus. This is the moon in Venus' sign right after a full moon eclipse that Venus ruled in a trine to Venus. Venus is being hosted by Mercury, and Mercury is in a conjunction to Mars. This is celebration. This is understanding. This is hopeful energy, support of a decision. This is disruption, chaotic or pivotal disruption. Doesn't matter. Mars is still a disruptive energy. Sometimes we like Mars as a disruptive energy. Sometimes we don't. We have a disruption. For some people, this is a planned disruption. For some people, we're just showing to support. I'm so glad you made this decision. I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy you're doing this. And other people are going to be like, okay, I was here. Now I'm gone. I'm not staying. Be prepared for both. And then after the moon's trine to Venus, the moon is going to make a conjunction to Uranus. Now, this goes the most exact between 6:30 p.m. and 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. This is like coming home from a weekend of craziness and telling somebody about all of the craziness. This is coming home after a weekend of craziness and finding somebody in your home unexpectedly. Like, what the hell? Why are you in my house? So let me in. There's an unexpected element. And considering Mercury and Mars are still in a conjunction, we don't necessarily like unexpected this time. We're not going to necessarily be thrilled about something like super exciting and unexpected hitting the door. Like, I'm tired. What do you want? I've had a shitty day. Why are you in my house? I just drove 6 hours to come home and take a shower. Was not expecting somebody sitting on my porch. What do you want? Do we mean to be bitchy? Not necessarily. Are we probably going to be bitchy? Yes. If we have something unexpected to the extent of like an unexpected call, somebody at your house unexpectedly coming into this part of the evening, it's going to be very easy to shut that person down going, we're going to talk tomorrow. I'm not doing this right now. I'm not in the mindset to do this right now. I don't have the mental capacity to do this right now. I'm freaking tired. Some of us, we're going to come home, take a shower. We're going to tell other people in our household about what just happened over the course of the weekend and all of the situations going on that led to this point. There's been a lot of activity going on. There's been a lot of anxiety going on. Not everybody is going to get into the eclipse and all the anxiety is going to fall away. It's not all going to be sunshine and rainbows. Some of us are going to get to the end of Sunday and we're going to be like so tired. Anticipate that. It'll make it a lot easier to deal with. Okay. Again, I didn't want to put a whole lot of emphasis on the eclipse. More of this week is building up into what's going to happen in the eclipse. There's a huge difference between this week and the last eclipse week. The last time, so at the beginning of the month, we had all of these events happen, and then once we got to that new moon eclipse, there wasn't anything else going on. There wasn't any bold energy to it. A lot of people was trying to become reflective. They were dealing with stuff deep within inside. They had to deal with certain emotions, and they had to let certain wounds come to the surface, and we needed to heal certain insecurities. Parts of this week is the outside, external reflections of the insecurities of last week. For some people, it is also the additional recognition to seeing the changes and transformations of last week, and now how they're going to keep culminating into something else. The thing about energies, whenever it's tied to eclipses, is it's usually a very continuous flow and pattern of a situation, very continuous flow of events. Many people this week are going to be going through all of the steps necessary to get to whatever we're going to be doing at the end of the week, to get to the final thing, to get to the final boss. Video games. Other people are going to be resistant to the idea of change, resistant to something going against their belief system, resistant to another person living their life the way that they choose. They're going to be resistant to it. Just because something doesn't suit your needs doesn't mean that they're wrong for wanting them. The butterfly flies and is beautiful. A bear can't fly. That doesn't mean it's not beautiful. A bear walking through the river doesn't mean it's not beautiful. There are elements to this week of accepting something regardless of how we feel. Recognizing that an old belief system needs to stay in the past, and that a new way of doing things is starting to come through and setting in. There will be a setting in this week, but not everybody is going to like the new. That's okay. They want to live in the past, let them live in the past. Saturn is going to be in Pisces for 2.5 years. There will be some holdouts on the shifts in our beliefs. We still got 2 more years. All of 2024 and majority of 2025 is going to be Saturn in Pisces. There's going to be a lot of shifts tied to beliefs, and not all of them are going to happen overnight. However, we are turning some things around tied to beliefs, tied to authority, tied to the elders, tied to our roles and our responsibility. And there's a lot of people ascending into a new area of life. Some people are letting go and they're transitioning power to other people. We're giving the company to the kids. We're doing something different. Some people are getting married and they're getting a whole new family. That's not a bad thing. There can still be some unexpected elements in the mix, but it's not a bad thing. Transform, transition, and allow for this new area of stability to come to shape, to come into the picture, to stabilize in some way. There will be challenges to the new stability. And that's very evident by Mars in the conjunction of Mercury. If it was just Mars opposite Jupiter, I don't necessarily know that we would have so much argumentativeness. But so many people are in a place where they're resistant to change, and they're resisting to changing their mind. Some people that they can't change their mind until they experience it. But the thing is they won't experience it because they fear it. They fear change. My grandma was one of those people. She used to resist every bit of change. Pictures, video, that all helped. Being able to show her how to do something helped. You ask me for directions over the phone, I'm going to get real short-tempered real fast. If I have to repeat myself more than twice, my temper gets a little shorter. I'm being super honest about that. There will be shorter tempers as this week progresses. There will be people that are frustrated and resistant. They don't like change. They're getting pulled into changes. The last eclipse was very peaceful. There wasn't a whole lot to it. Was there a lot of anxiety and angst? Of course. We can all feel the energy of an eclipse. This full moon, though, it's disruptive. There's other elements to it, and it will be felt much, much more than the new moon eclipse in Libra. Whenever I did that episode, I specifically said, like, a lot of what's going on right now is starting to push for awareness of things that are going to come through in the next one. Here's the next one. And it's a lot more active. There's a lot more to it. It's got a lot more oomph. And it's going to inspire, enact, force a lot more change. That can be good, that can be bad, that can be ugly. Kind of depends on what's going on in our lives. Anyways, I hope everyone has a wonderful week. I hope it's not too much of people in their feels. I hope everybody can keep their cool about them as the moon is going through Aries and we get closer to that Mercury-Mars conjunction. I'm telling you, people are going to get really shorter and their tempers are going to be shorter in their words. I'm one of those people, like certain times I say certain things and like, if I'm hurting, that's the best one. If I'm hurting, it doesn't matter if I'm saying you're beautiful or if I'm saying you're stupid ugly. Like, it doesn't matter. It's coming out across in the same tone because I'm hurting. This is going to be like that. It doesn't matter what they're going to say. It's going to come down to the tone of voice and how they see it. They can be trying to say the most positive thing possible, but if they're super freaking mad, all you hear is mad. Be aware of that. Some people are going to be in their feelings. Some people are going to get reactive. As we get closer to the eclipse, we're going to see more and more of the reactiveness coming to the surface. And if you know that's coming, it's going to make it a lot easier to brace for impact. You can just sit there and say, oh, big feelings. You done? Because we got shit to do. Okay, awesome. Thanks for joining the party. Thanks for jumping in. Thanks for helping. Drop your attitude. Trust me. It's the best way to go. I love and appreciate every single one of you. Talk to you all very, very soon. Subscribe.